good morning everyone. Welcome back to the online class. So today we are going to start another chapter that is from your unit 6 section 3rd, right? And the topic name is the listener, right? The listeners, why they whom we say listeners? The people the people who listen our word, they are said to be the listeners, right? Now you are all listeners because you are hearing, you are listening my words and the explanation of this poem, right? So you are said to be a listener. So listeners means the people who listens others word or the things what they are saying, okay? Now we will move toward this poem, okay, the mysterious poem, where we don't know some of the questions because it is not even explained in the poem, or it will remain unsolved at the end of the poem itself, okay? It will remain unsolved at the end of the poem, and the poem will begin from a mystery, like what happened when something took place, why something took place. It doesn't even like mentioned here. It's just that you have to read the chapter and understand, and the poetic devices, okay, what they are, why they are used, and why they whom they are compared to, and understand the things used in this poem, okay? And it is not a moral poem which will not give you a moral lesson or not. It's just about to read. Literature is about to read and to enhance your way of speaking something, right? It's not about like it may have a didactic information, or it will give a moral lesson. It's just to read and to enhance your listening and writing and speaking skill, okay? So let's begin this poem, and which is said to be a mysterious poem, okay? So the poem is starting from, is there anybody there? Okay. Now someone is at the door, okay, and someone is knocking at the door. Said the traveler. Who said? The traveler is knocking at the door of a house, and he said, what? He said, is there anybody there? Knocking on the moonlight door. What is this moonlight door? Where some moonlight was falling on the door. There the traveler came, and he was knocking at the door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses. What this champ means? Like grinding the grasses, grinding the because we know the horses or even the animals who eat only plant products, they love to champ, they love to eat grasses and the green products, like. So his horse was champing there, his horse was just grinding that eating that grasses from the ground silently, and this traveler, the owner of the horse, is just knocking at the door, and he said that, is there anybody there? And his horse in the silence charmed the grasses of the forest ferny floor. What the ferny floor means? The grasses floor. Okay, the horse is grinding. The horse is eating the grasses from the ground, the ferny floor, where all the new grasses, very young new grasses are there, and the horse is just chewing that, just eating that, grazing that grasses, okay? But the traveler, what the traveler is doing? Yeah, the traveler is knocking at the door, and he is finding somewhere in the house. And a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveler's head. What this turret means? Turret means like a place you have seen in Gurudwara and all, na? Something it is like over the Gurudwara, like Gumbaj and all. You say the round thing, okay, where we cannot stand there. एंड गुम्बज जिसको बोलते हैं, ऊपर में जो राउंड टाइप का बना हुआ है गुरुद्वारा में, इवन इन द मॉस्क एंड ऑल यू हैव सीन, ओके? तो वो जो टरेट उसको बोला जाता है, ओके? एंड टरेट पे बर्ड्स बैठे हुए थे, एंड इट फ्लूज अप टू द like traveler's head. Okay, it's a haunted or a horrifying or imagination, full of imagination poem, okay, where you have to imagine everything, that something is going to be a horroring, or something which is going like very in a very scaring or something like a horror movie में जैसे चलता है, it's happening like that. You just have to imagine that turret पे bird बैठी हुई थी, और when the traveler knocked at the door, what the bird did, bird flew up to the head of the traveler and flew away from there only. मतलब सर के ऊपर से वो bird उड़ते हुए गई. As you can see, you must have seen some horrifying movie and all, so you can imagine what these things belongs to, what they like express with their words and expressions, right? So these are happening there. And he smote means, and he again knocked at the door, upon the door again a second time. He just knocked upon the door for the second time, but and asking the same thing, is there anybody there, he said. Now again the same thing he is asking at the by knocking at the door, and asked that, is there anyone there in the house, he said again. But no one descended to the traveler, like no one came, no one looked up from the upstairs to like balcony and also भी किसी ने नहीं देखा, like who is knocking at the door, why the person came there. No one was there to even react on it, that who came there at the door. No one was there to see, because the house was empty. And only we'll see in the when we proceed in the poem, we'll see what is going to happen. Just imagine this story, this poem is a horrifying story, or it is like it already took place, okay, somewhere in the past. So and now it's like the narrator, like the poet is narrating this story, okay. And the traveler was waiting that someone will come, but nobody came there. No head from the leaf fringed sill. Like leaf fringed sill means जो विंडो सिल है वो लिफ जो ट्रीज है बाहर में फॉरेस्ट में, ओके, तो ये जो ट्री से कवर किया हुआ है उसका विंडो, उसका खिड़की. एंड नो बडी केम आउट ऑफ दैट विंडो, नो बडी साइडेड दैट लीव्स एंड आउट फ्रॉम द विंडो एंड कुड सी फ्रॉम देयर ओनली कि हु इज नॉकिंग एट द डोर. नीचे भी नहीं देखा that who is there. Leaned over and looked into his grey eyes. Nobody came there and looked into his grey eyes. And his grey eyes means whose grey eyes? The traveler's grey eyes, है ना. कोई भी ऊपर से नीचे नहीं देखा कि कौन नीचे नॉक कर रहा है. नॉट इवन इन हिज ग्रे आइज की वो कौन है यहाँ पर, वो जो ग्रे आइज में खड़ा है, द ट्रैवलर. Where he stood perplexed and still, like now the traveler is totally confused that why nobody is coming there. I'm knocking at the door from a very long time but nobody came there. What is going to happen? And he's still waiting there. He stood and still he is just waiting and confused there. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet moonlight to that voice from the world of men. Okay, now what happened? Who was listening that? The ghost who is living in that like it just imagine, okay, the ghost who is there in the house, they listen the voice of this man, the traveler who came there, who was knocking at the door, who listened the voice, the empty house, okay, the empty house, the having ghost or something, they listen the voice of this traveler. But now we also know the house is empty, nobody is going to answer, but they listen and they cannot even reply, okay. And they were in the moonlight area, okay. The like the house was covered under the moonlight, as we know it was the night time, okay. But nobody came, nobody was ready to speak from that lonely house. Stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stairs that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveler's call. Now what happened? This like nobody was there, कोई भी वहाँ पर आया नहीं. वो आपस में घर के अंदर जो भी होस्ट हैं, जो भी वहाँ पर एक इमेजिनेशन है, जो भी घोस्ट है अंदर, जो भी लिविंग क्रिएचर अंदर है, वो गैदर करके एक जगह होकर दे आर लिसनिंग द वॉइस ऑफ द ट्रैवलर हु इज़ नॉकिंग एट द डोर. बट They were not ready. They no sound came from there, but the traveler was still waiting कि कोई अंदर से आएगा, and they will say who is there on the knocking at the door, but nobody came there. And the thing was in the empty house में क्या था? Darkening that stair. The stair was totally under dark, like no light is there, only what is there? Moonlight is there. Okay. And the stair, the darkened stair is leading towards the empty hall. उस घर का जो empty hall है उसके अंदर वो सीढ़ी लेकर जा रहा है. But nobody came there to see who is there knocking at the door, right? And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry now. Everything was sorted. Now, what happened? The traveler, he felt something. He felt something strangeness, something stillness in their environment, the place where he was knocking at the door. He felt कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, something unusual, कुछ ऐसा जो बिल्कुल भी मतलब familiar नहीं है, एकदम unknown है, which is really unknown to him. And the stillness is answering his cry. Like जो वो खड़ा होके चुपचाप वहाँ पर वेट कर रहा है, वो उसको आंसर कर रहा है कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, बिकॉज इतने बोलने के बाद nobody is ready to answer his voice. While his horse moved and cropping the dark turf. Now, what happened? His horse, who was munching the grasses, right? Who was grazing the grasses, है ना? वो इधर उधर मूव करने लगा, because he also felt something strangeness at their place. Neath the starred and leafy sky. Neath means underneath, below the starred. लाइक जो स्काई है वहाँ पर जो इतने द स्काई विच इज़ फिल्ड विथ स्टार्स, एंड अंडर दैट स्काई some leafy places, because it was the story, the poem took place in the forest itself, and under that also what happened, nobody like वो वैसा माहौल है वहाँ का, है ना. एंड उस जो लीफी एकदम, क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट एरिया, एंड द ट्रीज आर टोटली बहुत ज़्यादा डेंस है, एंड इट इज़ लाइक as it is in the forest, and the forest trees and the leaves are so dense that nothing could be visible properly to the upstairs up in the sky, and not even the star could be visible when you will be in the forest. Well, it is the imagination, okay. And उसके नीचे में हॉर्स जो था वो इधर उधर स्काई के अंडर में जो हॉर्स था, okay, he was also moving here and there. For he suddenly smote on the door. Again now he smote, he knocked at the door even louder and lifted his head. Now again he just knocked at the door with all his effort, like very loudly, कि कोई तो सुनो मेरी बात को, but nobody was there to listen that, right? And tell them I came, and no answered, that I kept my word, he said. Now वो गेट को पीटने के बाद वो जोर से बोल रहा है कि लुक, I kept my word. I kept my word. I kept my promise. I came here. I'm knocking at the door, but nobody was ready to come out of that house. Okay, but the emptiness of that house, the host who was living there, or the living creature, or the ghost, whatever they are, whoever they are in the house, they heard the voice of that man, but nobody was there to come out and could say who is there at the door, right? वहाँ पे वो जो ट्रैवलर था वो वहाँ पर आया. ही सेड कि मैंने अपना प्रॉमिस रखा है, बट what happened? Nobody answered my knocked at the door. Never the least stir made the listener, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house. From the one man left awake. Now what happened? He said that मैंने इतनी बार गेट पीटा but nobody was there to come there. Shadowiness है ना, वो उसका shadowing, द घर का जो shadowiness था, जो हाउस का shadowiness, उसके में से भी कोई बाहर निकल कर नहीं आया. वो still house like emptiness, empty house में से कोई बाहर नहीं आया. Right? And every word he spake means it is a old fashioned word of speak is the new word, okay? And the spake is like you can only see in this literature and all, okay? So spake is a very old word of speak, and every word of that traveler was really what, echoing one. And who was listening? They were the listener, right? Now the word came, now the topic came here, like the person who were listening there at the house, they were the listeners only, because they cannot say anything, okay? They cannot come out of the house, okay? They heard this food upon the stirrup. Okay, now they hear the sound of the man, the traveler who was getting back on the horse. हॉर्स पे चढ़ने के लिए वो जो वो मेटल, वो जो आयरन का बना रहता है हॉर्स के ऊपर, वेयर दे स्टक देयर फूड, राइट? तो वो फूड रखने वाले पे उसने आवाज़ सुना. द पीपल और द होस्ट or the living creature who were living in that house, they heard the sound of that stirrup का जिस पे चढ़ा वो traveler ने पैर रखा है, and the sound of that iron on the stone, and horse के पैर के नीचे में जो irons रहते हैं उसका आवाज़ उन्होंने सुना. The listeners heard the sound who were in the empty house, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hooves were gone. Now जो वो plunging hooves था, वो जो घोड़ा का जो लाइक हॉर्स का जो जहाँ पे पैर रखा जाता है, एंड द clothes which covered the horse body and all. So when he was departing from that place, from that empty house where he was knocking at the door, he went there, like he was like departing from there, and all the sign of that departing का जो भी sound है, like हॉर्स पे चढ़ना या फिर वहाँ से दूर जाना, द मेटल साउंड ऑफ द आयरन साउंड ऑफ दैट हॉर्स लेग एंड all were the sign that he was leaving the place, and nobody came there, and he just went from there. and हवा like surge means like a wave, he just rushed from that place, and he gone from there. But nobody came out of the horse, and what he said, that I kept my word. So it's just a mysterious poem, and it is the way of thinking of the poet, that what he wanted, what he imagined, some part which cannot be like explained. वो होता है ना, शब्दों में बांध कर रखना. So this poem is all about that only, a very mysterious where we cannot find any answer, because as remember in the beginning of the poem I said that some of the question will be remain unsolved, okay? Because the poet itself didn't solve it, and it's just a mysterious poem. And also I said that the some it cannot give a moral lessons and all, it just to enhance your like listening, speaking and understanding skill, okay? And this poem is written by Walter de la Mare, okay? So now it's your work to prepare the summary of the poem, and please find out the word meanings which are like new for you, which cannot be understood by you, okay? So please find out the word meanings by your own and understand everything, and tomorrow we'll meet with the exercise part of this poem, okay? So have a nice day to all, and bye everyone.